Hello, it's Keith here, and this is episode 5 of the Grime 68,000 programming project. So how are things going? Well, you can see on screen we've got all 5 versions of the game, and the title screen is now pretty much done. We've got the high score, and the high score should be working. We've got the scrolling message, and we've got the press fire to continue, which of course was missing yesterday. So let's try one of these systems and just see what it looks like. Let's try the Neo Geo. So you can see we now have some Grime, and the game's running a little fast, but that's something that I will come to in a moment. And hopefully you can hear we do have some sound now. Of course, this is once again with chibi sound, and I can die as I'm doing quite proficiently here. So this is chibi sound again, the driver that handles the sound on all of my systems, that works in a common way on Z80 and 6502 and 68000 systems. Now if you look at the left hand side though, you'll notice there's a glitch. There's some tiles that are appearing outside of the official tile map. I don't know why that is, so that's kind of my problem for today. Also there's some messaging problems there. That's, as I said before, there seems to be something with the Neo Geo that maybe there's a glitch. It looks like maybe the memory I'm using for the text location is actually not free. I'll have to look at that. Anyway, you can see that basically the game is working there. Let's try it on the Atari ST. So again, hopefully you can hear some sound here. And you know, everything's working the same. Now the interesting thing is the glitch with regards to tiles appearing at the far left off the screen does happen on multiple systems. I don't know if it happens on all of them, but I've seen it on more than one. I'm assuming it's something to do with a register having junk value, maybe in the remaining unused 24. Oh, is it happening there? Yes, it has happened there. So as I say, it does seem to happen on multiple systems, maybe all of them, maybe only a few. I haven't worked out what it is yet. It's very odd, because as I say, that's not actually part of the official tile map. So it's not that data's getting into the tile map in the wrong area, because the tile map physically can't store it. Anyway, you can see that's working okay. Now, for some reason, the title scrolling message on the Amiga has gone super fast. That's quite surprising, because I've actually changed the pause code that slows the game down on the Amiga and our Atari ST, and it's now using the vertical blank, and so it's waiting for a vertical blank. So I was actually expecting it to be more consistent. The game is now running consistent speed, and I would have thought the title is, but maybe I need to do some tweaking of the code or something. Anyway, there is a little trick. There was a little problem with making the sound work correctly on the Amiga. I thought I'd written chibi sound on all the systems, but again, I hadn't. I'd started writing it on the Amiga, so I had to finish writing it. And the tricky thing with the Amiga is, unlike the other systems that have tone channels and noise channels, the Amiga has wave channels. So I actually have to generate a wave file for the sound, and so I have to create a sort of square wave for the beeps and also a distortion sample. And so what I'm doing is, during the pause while I'm waiting for that V blank, I'm actually putting random data into that noise wave, but the noise isn't very good, I'll be honest. It's not amazing, but it's good enough for now. So anyway, but you can see the game works, the lives go down, and if you run out of lives it will go back to the main menu. And so here we have the X68 and more of the same. Now the tiles are a little bit squashed on the X68, and if I have spare time, one thing I'm thinking of trying is extending the tiles to 10 tiles in the same way as on the 6502 with the Atari Lynx. I missed 2 of the lines to make 8x6 tiles. I'm thinking of doubling 2 of the lines to make 8x10 tiles. But as I say, that's only going to be if I get all the bugs fixed before the end of the series. Anyway, you can see the game works okay. The text is also in the wrong position, but I haven't fixed that yet, because as I say, if I actually extend the tiles, they will be in the right position. So I don't want to code for one thing and then change my mind and then have to code for the other. Finally, the Genesis. So anyway, you can see this is obviously going to work the same. It's slightly disappointing in some ways, because the 68,000 systems are all at least 16 colours. Then the game actually looks exactly the same on all of them, but you know, a kind of pleasant disappointment, but it does mean that the challenge of making the graphics work on all the systems is a little bit less. Anyway, what am I going to do today? Well, the main thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and figure out what's causing that graphical glitch with the tiles appearing off the main tile map. I'm also going to try and work on the V-blank, because as I say, the Atari and the Amiga version are now using a consistent V-blank, but I want to try and do that on all of the systems, because on a system like the 68,000, it's very important, because the 68,000, there were multiple generations of processor, and I think it spanned from about 10 megahertz to about 60. So, you know, I don't want my game running at 6 times speed like we used to have in the days of the 386. Ironically, if you play the original Grime game on a modern machine without emulation, it will run, but it'll run so fast you can't play it. The game will end before you even see anything on the screen. So I don't want my new version to have the same glitch as the old version, because obviously when the author wrote the old version, they didn't expect much faster machines to appear, but now we know better. Again, you can see that glitch in example there. Anyway, so there seems to be a text problem with the Neo Geo, there's that graphical problem, and I need to fix my V-blank on all systems. But that's mostly it. I mean, the Genesis, the text's in the wrong place as well. But I would say things are going pretty well. I mean, I hope the game is nearly finished. One thing that I'm aware is probably the case is I've copied the Z80 code to this version, and I think there was a bug in the Z80 code, at least of the version I was using, maybe it was an old version, where the Grime would span off the right-hand side of the screen and appear on the left-hand side, and I fixed that with the 6502 version, but because I based this on the Z80 version, the bug's probably back again. So I'll have a look at that if I have time as well, and I'll try and make it work like the 6502 version, and basically make it the best game I can, because, you know, even though it's just a bit of fun making this, I do want to try and make it as, you know, as enjoyable for everyone as possible. So that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, those are my main plans for the next 24 hours. Let's have a look at a little bit of the code. So first of all, let's have a look at these V-blank commands. On the Atari ST, what I'm doing is I'm reading the V-blank counter here, and I'm just waiting for it to change, and that seems to work okay. I was struggling to find online an example of how to do it, but I did find that this V-blank counter existed within some of my notes I'd made. And then with the Amiga, I found this example code here, which will do a V-blank, and then I'm just updating the noise while we're waiting for that V-blank, which makes the distortion sound a bit more natural and random, because I'm using my random number generator to do that. Now with the Atari ST, it was very easy to do the chibi sound, because the Atari ST is an AY register system. I've already covered that in my tutorials, I believe, so if you're interested, please take a look. This is the Amiga version. The code is relatively short, but that's unfortunately because, as I say, you're just pointing it at a WAV file and go and play that, and it's making the WAV file that's a bit more of a pain. So the Amiga's a stereo system, so we're having to do 2 channels, and the data is 16 bytes apart. So if you add 16, you're doing the equivalent for the right channel. So here we're defining the length of the sound file. Here we're defining the source of the sound file in memory, and it has to be in chip memory, which is a special, I think it's basically down to the things like the, if you've seen the Enterprise series, the system has the unupgraded memory, which is called the chip memory, which is the only memory that the hardware can access, and then the extended memory, and your program, I believe, tends to run in the extended memory, so you have to specifically request the chip memory. But what I've done is in this RAM area file, I've declared that this is going to be the chip memory, so anything after this declaration here goes into that chip memory. And so I've defined a WAV file here and some noise here. So these are in the chip memory, so they can be used by that sound generation. But of course, these are only needed for the Amiga. Apart from that, of course, I've had to convert all of the mold code, which took a while, but there weren't really any problems. You know, just the odd mistake and bug, you know, but that's what you expect. At one point, I keep getting my conditions backwards because I can't quite work it out. I'm obviously making a lot of mistakes, and I'll make some proper documentation once I'm confident I understand it myself. But at one point, the seekers were actually running away from the player, which was quite fun, but not the idea. So that was quite a curious bug, but at least it was very obvious what was wrong. But you know, I mean, honestly, everything's going very well. Apart from that weird glitch that the graphics are appearing off screen, you know, that's a question mark one. I could fix it in 10 minutes. I could be still tearing my hair out on it in a day's time, but obviously that's what I'm going to be looking at, because that's the most important problem the game has. A bit of clearing up after that, trying to improve the positioning of the text maybe, and that bug on the Neo Geo with the text. There seems to be something wrong with the text cursor. Maybe the X text cursor is getting corrupted by something. I'll have a look at that anyway. But you know, it's going very well. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. Obviously, I've got bugs to hunt for, so please tune in for the next episode. Thanks for watching today, and goodbye.